Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Nate Diaz challenges Jake or Logan Paul after Nate's loss. You see, Nate Diaz is fired up and ready for some payback in the world of UFC. However, he was right there at the American Airlines Center in Dallas over the weekend, cheering on his little bro Nate Diaz as he stepped into the boxing ring for the first time. Man, just remember the same Nate who went toe-to-toe with Jake Paul in a 10-round match. And if we talk about its aftermaths, it came out on the other side of a unanimous decision loss. Sigh. But here's the main point. Nate Diaz wasn't just there to play the supportive big brother role. He grabbed that microphone like a champ after the fight and laid it all out. He's got a score to settle, and it's all about the Paul brothers. I think Nate needed a little more work, Diaz said of his younger brother on the pay-per-view broadcast. But let's cut to the chase. I'm a lot better than both of these guys that are out there. I'd love to entertain the idea of moving on to whoever they've got for me. So if they want to do round 2 against Jake, if Nate ain't going to do it, I'll take it. Jake's got an older brother too, so don't forget about the one and only. In 2021, Nate Diaz had his pro fight, and it was a bit of a tough one. He faced off against Robbie Lawler at UFC 266 and, well, things didn't go as planned. Oops. Before that fight, Nick had quite the hiatus from the MMA scene. He faced very terrible losses in 2013 and 2015 as well. Now, here's a twist. Unlike his little bro Nate, who just made his boxing debut, Nick has dipped his toes in the boxing world before. With all those ups and downs, you've got to hand it to Nick for his resilience. I'd like to get a good look at what's going on because I don't know what's happening, but I like to keep options open, Diaz said. I'd like to entertain something shortly. We could talk about that. It could be a possibility. Either way, yeah, one of those two or maybe something else. Who knows? I've got a lot going on right now, but we can sort that out. Now let's see if Nate can bring some of that boxing success back into the MMA world and maybe even settle the score with those Paul brothers. It's going to be one heck of a ride. Jake Paul clarifies not pursuing knockout after dropping Nate Diaz in round 5. Recently, Jake Paul and Nate Diaz were thrown down in a 10-round boxing match at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. Dude, it was quite the showdown. Here, Jake Paul, who had a flawless 6-0 record before his hiccup against Tommy Fury earlier this year, was making his comeback. And guess who was standing in his way? None other than Nate Diaz. Leading up to the fight, Jake was all about the predictions. He called his shot, saying he'd knock Nate Diaz out in the 5th round. And guess what? He almost pulled it off. I am telling you, it was a real nail-biter. But here's where it gets interesting. Even though Jake had Nate in trouble, he didn't just go all out for the kill. Nope. He decided to play it cool and not throw caution to the wind. After the fight, at the post-fight press conference, Jake spilled the beans on his decision.
My motor was running hot, and I was punching him hard and hard and hard, and he wasn't going down. He was standing there, and so I didn't want to burn out and then let him catch a wind and come back with something. So I was being patient, being smart, and was looking for the kill. But at the end of the day, he withstood a bunch of big punches.
However, Jake explained and appreciated Nate's recent performance.
For sure, I could see it the whole fight. In the first round, I seen his eyes light up, and he was like, okay, they talk about this kid's power, but when you feel it, it's different.
Therefore, it is clear that this fighting game always keeps us on the edge of our seats. So, my fight fans, keep your eyes on the game. Poirier's welterweight consideration sparks contenders' call for a showdown. After hitting a bit of a rough patch in the lightweight division, Dustin is thinking about shaking things up and making a move to welterweight. Yep, you heard that right. He is bringing some big thoughts, right? After that, Dustin hit a couple of snags in his recent fights. First, he took on Charles Oliveira in a battle at UFC 269 but ended up getting submitted. And then, just recently at UFC 291, he had his sights set on that BMF title in a fight against Justin Gaethje. But things didn't go his way again. Knockout loss. It is the visual representation of sad emoji. And guess what? Dustin's not just thinking about his next move. He's also been keeping an eye on Nate Diaz. After Nate's boxing match, Dustin took to Twitter to give a little sign and express his interest in having Nate back in the octagon. Nathaniel, Poirier wrote. Later on, the guy from Louisiana even said he was up for a fight against Diaz at 170 pounds. Okay, I'll move up. It is interesting to see the real shots in the MMA world, whereas Dustin Poirier's got options on the table, while Nate Diaz is being a bit mysterious. Now we'll just have to wait and see what unfolds next. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, we'd love your support. Just hit that subscribe button to motivate us to bring you more exciting content. McGregor's criticism of Diaz triggers an intense Twitter battle with Jake Paul. You won't believe the drama that's been going down there. You know, Conor McGregor is the fiery Irishman with a legendary rivalry with Nate Diaz. Just recently, he's been causing quite the stir after that boxing match on Saturday. At that moment, classic Diaz-style taunts are flying left and right, trying to mess with Paul's head. But guess what? McGregor is never one to hold back. First, he took a jab at Diaz in a series of tweets on Sunday, and then he turned his sights on Paul, and let me tell you, things got pretty heated. The tweets were flying, and it turned into this back and forth that was nothing short of intense. Certainly, he started criticizing Nate Diaz's performance. But wait, it gets wilder. McGregor dug up a picture from his fight against Floyd Mayweather. And then things took a nasty turn. McGregor aimed his verbal punches at Jake Paul through vulgar hashtags. Later on, Paul enters the battleground and tells him to head to rehab. Ouch, that's hitting below the belt. And McGregor, well, he didn't hold back either. He fired off more offensive remarks to escalate the whole thing. Then Paul brought up McGregor's alleged actions at the NBA Finals and targeted McGregor's alleged drug use. It's like he's unearthing all sorts of skeletons. In the end, Paul called McGregor out for deleting his tweets. Honestly, this whole saga is like a roller coaster ride of drama and some serious tension between McGregor and Paul, right? Jake Paul sets 2026 world title goal after beating UFC's Nate Diaz. After the victory, Jake Paul is riding high on confidence. Now, only one question remains. Will Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz showdown be held on the 5th of August? It was quite the talk of the town. So here's what went down. Paul and Diaz duked it out in a match that had some hype. But let's be real, it didn't quite explode like dynamite as we expected. It was like a pot that could have been boiling over with excitement, but it simmered down a bit. You know, the whole show had this melodramatic feel of what could have been. How many rounds did your favorite boxer fight for in their 8th pro fight? Most valuable promotions, a Jake Paul-owned company stated in a Twitter post. Gervonta Davis 4 RDS, Terrence Crawford 4 RDs, Canelo Alvarez 6 RDs, Floyd Mayweather 6 RDs, Anthony Joshua 8 RDs, Tyson Fury 10 RDs, Jake Paul with just one amateur fight, Jake Paul, went 10 RDs in his 8th fight. #win. However, Jake shared his thoughts on Twitter with a caption of facts, and then replied in his tweet, "All great fighters. My path may be different, but the destination is going to be the same. World champion by 2026. And you know what they say, don't hate the player, hate the game. Right now, Jake's capitalizing on the emotions of fans, whether they want to see him triumph or fall flat on his face. With time, who knows what wild and daring stunts they'll pull next. Here, the fight fans might get crazier and more outrageous as they continue to carve their place in the spotlight. So yeah, it's a wild ride, and we're all just along for it. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.